A lot of you guys have been asking me, Zach, what is your top 10 favorite movie franchises of all time? I'm here to provide that answer, so make sure you guys to comment down below. Let me know what your top 10 favorite movie franchises of all time are, and as well, hit that like and subscribe button if you guys love top 10 lists, if you love talking movies, or in general, if you are just a geek like me. Coming down at my number 10 is going to be the Mad Max franchise. Now, it's funny for me, I've actually never been a giant Mad Max fan until Fury Road. Fury Road really changed that for me, made me go back in the past and really see all the Mad Max films. And ever since then, it's become one of my favorite action franchises, and in general, one of my favorite movie franchises of all time due to this reason. I love the original Mad Max. Yes, is it a little dated? Absolutely. But Road Warrior is fantastic. Still one of the best action films ever created. Thunderdome is fun in its own right, but it's Fury Road that still is one of my favorite films of all time. It's a film that really just engages you in its storytelling devices, in its action set pieces, and its insanity that it truly is. While it really is that film that holds this whole franchise up for me, everything else in there is actually a lot of fun and really engaging, and I love the story in this post-apocalyptic wasteland that Max is going around in, and I think that's why I'm just so engaged. I'm a major fan of when it comes to post-apocalyptic stories, and when it comes to Mad Max, it sells me in every single avenue. Coming in at my number 9 is going to be the Mission Impossible franchise. I love what they have done with this franchise overall, and I think Tom Cruise has just killed it every single time, and almost nearly killed himself in every single time he does this because of the stunts that he does. I think Fallout pushed this one into my top 10 personally because I think Fallout is absolutely the best Mission Impossible film. That film is incredible. It was one of the best theater experiences I've ever had, and it's a movie that I love. Just like how I just talked about Fury Road being one of the best action films of all time, I would go as far as to say Mission Impossible Fallout is also one of the best action films of all time, and I have no idea how they are going to top themselves when it comes to 7 and 8, because Mission Impossible Fallout, once again, is one of the best action films ever created. Tom Cruise just killed it in that whole role. But just speaking about the whole franchise in general, the first film is a really engaging spy thriller. The second one sucks. That's just the truth. But 3, I think, is completely underrated. I love that one. It is my second favorite Mission Impossible film. Then you get Ghost Protocol, which just kicks all sorts of ass, has some of the best stunts work ever. You get into 5, Rogue Nation, which is also incredible and just a great setup film for what Fallout is. And then, yeah, once again, you get Fallout, which has some incredible set pieces, an incredible villain, great twists and turns, and just a really edge-of-your-seat ride the whole entire time. The Mission Impossible franchise is an edge-of-your-seat ride. I love these spy thrillers. I love diving into this world, and I cannot wait for 7 and 8. Speaking of 8, coming in at my number 8 is going to be the DC movies. Now, many people I've seen have actually picked Batman or Superman and picked just one generic thing, but when it comes as all these superheroes, I do pick the whole DC realm, because you take the good, the bad, and the ugly with all of it, and you put it all together, and it becomes one of my favorite movie franchises. While Batman is one of my favorite superheroes of all time, I love the Dark Knight trilogy. I also love the original Tim Burton Batman movie and a lot of those animated Batman films, but then you don't feel to look at. You gotta look at Shazam, Birds of Prey, Aquaman, and hell, you must look at Man of Steel, which is still, I would say, the best Superman film ever created. This is what makes the DC realm so unique, is all seeing the different genres mix and all the different type of unique takes that they have done inside this world. I love the DC universe, and in fact, a lot of people are like, well, Zach, you're a Marvel shill. You guys don't understand. Growing up, I was a way bigger DC fan. I read way more DC comics. I was watching way more DC stuff. It's just kind of in the property of everything going about right now. There's not as many DC films as there is Marvel, but that's okay because I still appreciate and understand what they're doing, and I really hope that they can get to that level that the MCU is as well, because I just really am champing in their corner to get there and get to the great things. I mean, it would be awesome to see like Zachary Levi Shazam interacting with a Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. Come on, give me it. Coming in at my number 7 is going to be the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Now, I chose this as my number 7 mostly because I just love Pirates of the Caribbean. It's my favorite ride at Disneyland, but besides that to be the point, I love almost every single one of these movies, and I know that's not for everyone, but I love them. Curse of the Black Pearl, amazing. Great build-up, great start off to this franchise, great mythology, great characters, very entertaining, great swordplay, and then you go, Gore Verbinski just said, I'm gonna get all weird with this stuff, and he grabs Dead Man Tell No Tale, and he also grabs World's End, and really makes one honestly one of the most creative and unique experiences for a blockbuster. They are insanely crazy. The mythology gets all wild, but the swordplay, the action, the entertainment values all still contained in its own right. And then you get the 4, which is it's good. It's okay. It's not my favorite. It's my one that I've probably only seen like once or twice. And then you get to the last one, the 5th one, Dead Men Tell No Tale, which I freaking loved. I think Javier Bardem killed it in that villain role, and I was really hoping that we'd get number 6, and obviously that's probably not going to happen ever again. But I'm in love with this franchise. I love the character of Jack Sparrow. I love all the pirate lore that they kind of throw into this world, and I hope eventually that we do get more stuff in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, because again, I think Gore Verbinski really did such a fantastic job with those first 3 films, and he's just in general a very underrated director for what he's able to imagine, and as a visionary director, he is just insane with what he's able to bring onto the screen. Plus, that Davy Jones stuff still holds up to today. Still creepy. Coming up, my number 6 is going to be Indiana Jones. While I love the Indiana Jones franchise so much, the first film is one of my favorite films of all time. Raiders of the Lost Ark is a masterpiece. And you know, when it comes down to the rest of the franchise, I think they're all fun. I think Temple of Doom is a ton of fun. I think Last Crusade is just an excellent going out adventure. And Kingdom of the Crystal Skull might not be the best, but I still kind of enjoy it for weird antiques of it. And I'm kind of excited for this 5th one still. I'm excited to see where they can potentially take this franchise. And I actually still contend that Indiana Jones could be like James Bond. Switch out the main actor, continue the story into a new realm. It can happen. It can work. You just got to do it. And while yes, it will be hard to replace Harrison Ford because he's so iconic, I would actually go as far as to say he's more iconic in this role than he ever was in Han Solo, which he's fantastic in as well. I just really love the Indiana Jones movies. These are some of the best adventure films you can possibly ever get. It's directed well. It's entertaining. It's very action-packed. And in general, it just keeps you in there and makes you feel like you are going on these adventures. And just like I said, it's one of the perfect movies you could watch during the quarantine vibes right now because we're all stuck inside and we just want to escape outside. Before I get to my top 5, guys, I got some honorable mentions to discuss, which would be the Fast and Furious franchise, Jay and Silent Bob's whole universe. I love what Kevin Smith does in there. The Terminator franchise, James Bond, and of course, I do want to even throw in the Conjuring universe because in general, I really appreciate what they've been doing in there. In general, though, some of those films are garbage, and that's why I did not put it in here. Even though I love the original Conjuring, and I do love the second Annabelle, some of those films are really bad, and I love how they're tying it all together, but I really wish they were taking a better approach. And I'll even throw in the Paranormal Activity franchise. I just rewatched them all. And besides Ghost Dimensions being absolutely garbage, the rest of them are actually a lot of fun, and maybe it's just because I have a guilty pleasure for found footage films. And also, guys, if you guys are new here, then, again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Do not forget to do that. It helps out the channel. And if you're a geek like me, let's discuss some geeky stuff over here all the time. As well as make sure to comment down below. Let me know what your top 10 favorite movie franchises of all time were. I know there are going to be some that I missed out on that I really wish I could have put in here. In fact, another honorable mention I should probably mention is Jurassic Park. I love the Jurassic Park whole franchise and stuff. Just, again, some of those films are not the best. So that's kind of what drags it down and what films I like to rewatch and all that nature. But thank you guys again so much for clicking on this video as well. If you guys are new here, also head on over to Sandwich on Films on how to see films early. And of course, just a big thank you to you and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Coming down on my number 5 is the Middle-earth franchise. While I think the original Lord of the Rings trilogy is an absolute masterpiece, loving each and every one of those, and I love to go back through them and engage into that world, and it really kills me that I've never seen any of those in theaters. Like, I still want to see those in theaters, and I really hope that eventually I will be able to. But the reason this comes in at my number 5, not a little bit higher, is because of the Hobbit franchise. I don't like the Hobbit movies. I think the first one is great. I think Desolation of Smaug is very overrated, and Battle of the Five Armies it's fun, but it's kind of boring. The Hobbit franchise really dragged it down for me. Let's talk the positives. Lord of the Rings, I love each and every one. The epic, sprawling world that they built to life. All these characters, the relationships that we fall into them, the world that it kind of just dives into just deeper. I love every single one of these characters, and it has some of the coolest characters ever in a franchise. I mean, Gandalf and Aragorn, they're freaking amazing. Legolas, freaking awesome. I love what they were able to do with the Lord of the Rings franchise, and I think those first 3 are so special because of what they did for, in general, at the time. You know, this was looked at as a risk, and I think when it came out, it stunned people how good it was. It's accessible, it's fun, but it's also very engaging and deep. And that's what I'm actually still hoping that Dune will turn out to be later this year when Denis Villeneuve takes it on. I think they really do think this could be the next Lord of the Rings / Star Wars franchise, and I'm fingers crossed it is, because I'm fucking stoked for that movie. But in general, Lord of the Rings, it's a fun time. It's an amazing world, and I know a lot of people have actually never seen this movie. This is the perfect time to dive into those. And coming at my number 4, a lot of you guys are wondering on this one. My number 4 is the MCU, or in general, just any Marvel film, kind of putting it all together. You know, I saw some people having Spider-Man films separate. I saw some people putting X-Men films separate. I bunched it all together. I think it's incredible what, in general, the MCU has done in interconnecting everything together. And some people will not put it all together, but I do. I think the MCU is all interconnected. And when you look at the other Marvel associated properties like Deadpool, X-Men, and some of the other Spider-Man films, it really just comes to life to see like what Marvel has really put into the forefront in the association part. And how great some of these films are. Just kind of sticking out of the MCU for a little bit. Spider-Man Sam Raimi trilogy, really fun. I love that whole trilogy, and I love what it did for that Spider-Man character at the time. Amazing Spider-Man. I like them. I think they're fun. Are they great? No, but I think if it would have furthered out the world a little bit more, maybe it could have been. I think Garfield, I will still contend this. That movie has some of the best web-slinging action that we've gotten in any Spider-Man film yet, and it still has the best relationship in any Spider-Man film. As of now, that could change with Tom Holland and Zendaya, but still, I'm in love with Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, and just think they killed that whole entire relationship, and just thought it was so beautiful, and it really has one of the most emotional payoffs in any film, especially in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. God, that ending still gets me. But even diving in there, looking at the X-Men franchise, we get the Logans, the Deadpools, the Wolverine, which I think is really underrated, X-Men Days of Future Past, First Class, X-Men 2, X-Men, all fantastic films, and then you tie it all into the MCU, which is all interconnected. And while some people might think, oh, it's all one giant conglomerate and one giant property and movie-making machine, you can't forget to think about how Iron Man kicked it off, how it all came together in the Avengers, and how the first Avengers was kind of the prequel to all that. Diving into phase 2 when everything just starts building upon, they get a little bit crazier with, say, films like Winter Soldier, which takes a whole different approach, or Guardians of the Galaxy, which is still my favorite MCU film of all time, which all led into phase 3, which then we have the likes of an Ant-Man. We have our superheroes fighting. We have them coming back together for Avengers Infinity War, and then finally coming all together to end this epic saga in Avengers Endgame, and just us thinking, I don't know if I want more. We get Spider-Man Far From Home, which is just a blast of a time with the fight scenes between Mysterio, a great epilogue paying off that there is still a lot of stuff happening in this world, that I'm excited to see what happens in a world without, spoiler alerts, without the likes of Captain America, Iron Man, and of course Black Widow. It is really unique to say the least, and I can't wait to see what this prequel Black Widow film could actually do to the world. I'm excited to see what the Eternals do. I think that's going to shake up the world a lot, and in general, everything else coming inside the Marvel Universe. It is very exciting. Coming at my number 3, I just started rewatching all these, but it's the Harry Potter franchise. Most notably, the original 8 films. These films are so special, so unique, and this is coming from someone who didn't really grow up with these movies. In fact, I had actually seen all of them for the first time when the first Fantastic Beasts was coming out. I bought them all. I'd only seen 1 through 5 up to that point, and I sat down and watched all of them in one sitting, and it was one of the most magical journeys I could possibly have taken. I think this franchise in general still is filled with nostalgia, magic, and love. And the amount of charisma that is all placed throughout these films is honestly one of the most unique things that I have possibly ever seen in a movie. Franchise in general. And actually seeing these kids grow up, I think, is one of the most unique aspects of the whole entire franchise. And coming at my number 2 is, I'm going to have it, Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars has to be in here. It's one of my favorite movie franchises of all time, if not my favorite, but it's coming in at number 2 due to another film I do have to talk about. I love Star Wars to death. I know they're not perfect films. I know that to all means. I know there are a lot of issues throughout every single one of them. But when it comes to Star Wars, there's just something magical to it. It's something that takes me to a galaxy far, far away. It takes me to characters that I love. And it's a world that, while there are 9 episodic films, and then we have 2 spin-offs that I think are a lot of fun, You also have so much more to dive into. You have the Clone Wars show, which is firing on all cylinders right now. You have the Rebels show, which adds even more depth. You even have the Mandalorian now, and more shows coming down the pipeline. When it looks into this whole franchise in general, I see such love and dedication to it, and a lot of passionate people who are behind the scenes on it. Maybe not all everything, and some of it, yes, Rise of Skywalker, I do understand the complaints with it, but I still have fun with it. I'm one of the people that will take the good, the bad, and the ugly with Star Wars and try to stay positive with it, because I do love this world. I love the characters. I love the mythology that they build upon in it, and I just can't wait to see where they take the Star Wars franchise next. If you followed my channel for a long time, you probably know what my number one is, and that is Toy Story. I still will contend that I think Toy Story is the most precise, most accurate, and best movie franchise of all time so far. This is seriously one of the most unique and most special franchises to my heart. A lot of the nostalgia being Toy Story 2 is the first film I ever saw in theaters. I love Toy Story. I've watched it every single year, every month pretty much. I watch some form of it, and Toy Story has just been a major part of my life ever since I was born. There's never been a part of my life where Toy Story wasn't there for me. As I've grown up, the films have grown on me and been adapted to me. When the second one came out, that was kind of my first big experience, my big adventure going out. When the third one was coming out, I was heading into high school, almost about to graduate, and kind of just going into that whole thing. And when 4 came out, you know, it was kind of the perfect timing in my life where changes were starting to happen, and maybe I needed to start figuring out some certain things. I love Toy Story. I love what it's able to speak to me, and that's for me. I think they're hilarious. I think they're entertaining. I think they have some of the best characters in movie history, and I still think it's one of the best movie franchises, if not the best movie franchise of all time. Guys, that's gonna be my top 10 movie franchises of all time. Thank you guys again so much for clicking on this video. You guys really do mean the world to me. It means the world. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you guys are staying home. I hope I'm keeping you entertained in some way, and if you are new here, hit that like and subscribe, and never miss out on the content like this, and especially if you're a geek like me. Thank you guys again, and of course, until next time, stay classy.